Please.
I'm just picky about that. Thank you very much. It's great to be here with you guys today. My name is D. Grant Smith. That is an unusual name. A lot of people leave off the first letter and go straight to Grant, but I do have D there. If you want to know what it stands for don't leave it out. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Hey guys, come on in. Bill and I are longtime friends. We talk often about marketing, the power of marketing, and I love getting the chance to come in and talk with his classes every semester and talk about marketing. I don't really want to spend this time together talking about marketing because that can be really boring. And you guys want to do something better with your Friday than talk about marketing. And social media marketing is interesting in that it's essentially just a place to communicate with people, and oftentimes we forget about that. What I want to talk to you guys about today is not necessarily marketing and not necessarily social media marketing. Come on in, man. It's okay. It'll keep the bugs out that way. I want to talk to you guys about the power of storytelling. Ultimately, the stories that we tell ourselves are the stories that we tell other people. And all of the marketing that you see, whether it's on television, it's in magazines, it's online, it's on social media, it's on a website, it's on anywhere. It's a matter of storytelling. And when we realize and we look at what is actually going on in that way, we choose to be objective and observant, we can see the stories that these people are trying to lead us on. They're trying to lead us on a journey to do something, to believe something, to have something. Everybody in here wanting to do something in business? Raise your hand. Is it? Majority of folks, everybody. Okay, good. As people in business, part of our business, no matter what industry that you guys are in or industry you want to be in, your job is essentially to tell a story. And the power of that story will determine how successful you are. And the power of the way that you tell that story will determine how successful you are. Again, this isn't a matter of how great your product is. There are some really terrific products that have terrible stories, and that's why nobody knows about them. And I'm sure you guys probably have some great products that you use or services or apps or whatever, and nobody knows about it. Or you know about it, but that story's not getting told the right way. And so there's part of this whole marketing and branding thing where we get to be the storytellers for the things that we like. And I want to talk about that a little bit. Bill mentioned a minute ago that I worked at KACU, which is true. I was there from 2000 to 2013. In that process, I created a radio show, which is right here. And that cartoon dude is me. The Appetizer is not a food show. People hear that name and they think, oh, cool, what kind of food do you talk about? I don't talk about food at all. Because I'm not a chef. And also because it's a metaphor. The story I'm telling with my product is we eat different types of food because it's good for us. And we eat different types of foods because we like different flavors. And chances are we listen to different types of music for the same reason. And so my radio show is all about showcasing different types of music from different people that you might or might not have known before and showcasing their album. I don't give a crap about singles. I'm an artist. I value other artists. I want to showcase artists' full work because I want to help them build their audience base. That's the story that I'm telling with my product. And every single week on my show, for both hours, I'm showcasing great albums and I'm giving my listeners reason why they should dive into that songbook because it connects with me emotionally. It connects with me mentally. It connects with my story. And chances are it connects with theirs. That's the story that I'm telling. I'm leading people on a journey to discover new things, but not just discover artists, because attention is limited. Do you guys know what the attention span of a goldfish is?
3 seconds.
3? I thought it was 5. Okay.
3 and 5 is not much difference in 3 and 5.
That's a good point. It's a very good point. So there was a study that was done in, actually it's 8 seconds. But you were close, and so you get points. There was a study that was done a couple of years ago that said the average attention span of a goldfish is about 8 or 9 seconds. And they did a study on the average attention span of a person in the digital age with all of our endless media. Do you know how long the average attention span of a person is?
Like 5 seconds.
6.5. What this means is goldfish have better attention spans than we do. Goldfish, they're little fish. They're swimming around, they have no clothes. They have no social engagement. They have a greater attention span than we do. So what does that say about us as people? To me, that says that trying to gain somebody's attention is really pointless. Attention doesn't matter. Attention is just this. We've got eyes that see things all the time. Our job as storytellers and as people who want to lead people on a journey is to not just grab the eyes, but do something that connects with the heart. When we do that, we create opportunities for people to change. And our job as business folks, as marketers, as people who have products and services that make a difference in people's lives is to impact them with what we have so that their lives can be better. But that starts with what we believe about ourselves and ultimately what we believe about other people. So I'm going to tell you a couple stories. When I was a little kid, my biggest desire and dream was to be Superman. Now, I am a smaller person as an adult. I was a way smaller person as a child. And I got picked on a whole lot by really big people. What I wanted and dreamed about as Superman was in the 80s, the Christopher Reeve movies, the cartoons, the definitive nature of good versus bad, it was very clear. There wasn't any ambiguity in terms of who was the bad guy. The bad guy was there, he had a gun, he was going to hurt somebody. Come on in, man. You're in the right place. The good guy was clear, the bad guy was clear. When Superman showed up, the guy with the gun would shoot the gun, the bullet would bounce off, and he would just stand there like this. Boo! I wanted that. Why? Because I wanted to not feel the pain of rejection, ultimately. I wanted to not have to be vulnerable because being vulnerable costs something. I wanted to be impervious and invincible. And I think a lot of us kind of, if we're honest with ourselves, wish that the things that people said and did to us didn't hurt us, didn't impact us, didn't cause negative reactions. When I was 12 years old, I was riding around on my bike in my neighborhood on a Saturday, wearing a shirt about this color. It was my favorite t-shirt. Hot pink, Ocean Pacific, had a little emblem on it. I thought it was hot stuff. My little wobbly knees, riding around on my bicycle with my polka dot shorts. Man, it was cool. Standard elementary school buzz cut. Felt pretty good about myself. I heard this car coming behind me. Now, tell me if you guys have ever had this desire, dream, whatever. For you to see somebody that you think is beautiful, and for them to notice you as they pass by. And for it to be almost like one of those cheesy 80s movies where everything slows down, and the camera slowly pans, and some really cheesy 80s love song starts to play. Bum, 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 bum. And they're like, wow, who's that? Looks good. I kind of wanted that, even as a little kid, for somebody to notice me and to think I was valuable and interesting. So I hear this car coming behind me. Come on in. And I noticed that in the car, actually it's a truck, there's a teenage dude driving it, there's a girl next to him, but there's two girls in the back cab. One of them was a redhead. I thought she was cute, and I noticed her as she drove by, my wobbly little knees, doing what every little kid does when a car passes by, speeds up as fast as they can to try to catch up to the car, obviously failing. The car goes by, and I, in this moment, want this girl to notice me. And she did. And she said something to me that would stick with me for about 20 years or so. She shouted out, "You are the ugliest kid I have ever seen." So I'm not pedaling as fast anymore. And that's sinking in. And I'm not Superman, and the bullet didn't bounce off. It stuck. And it hurt. And I have no idea who this person is. I never met them. That was the only chance encounter I had. But what she said was a story that I believed. And I believed it for a very, very long time. And the reason I'm sharing this story with you is because the stories that we hear, the stories that other people that we don't even know tell us about ourselves, sometimes we can choose to believe that, and it changes us in negative ways. And it changes the way that we communicate ourselves and the way that we tell our story to other people. What that ended up doing was create a story in me that said that I can't engage with people that I really want to have appreciate me, that I'm not good enough to be in their presence, that I can't have that kind of engagement, that I'm not worthy of it. So enter into the radio world where I have the opportunity to interview diplomats and world leaders and people who are making a difference all over the world. And then add the radio show side of that and getting to talk with musicians that I really value and being nervous about this interaction. Are they going to see something in me that's valuable? Are they going to see me as an individual that they want to talk to? Because I don't know if I believe that. And that was a story that I told myself, and that was kind of the way that I approached people for a long time until it got to a place where it changed. And I'll tell you what changed that. Different story. I had the opportunity to talk to a couple of fairly prominent musicians in the classical music realm. And I don't honestly remember their names, but in that time, one of them had just won the Van Cliburn piano competition. And if you're a classical pianist, it's like the Grammy of piano players. Big, massive international competition. Guy was the best piano player in the world. It was circa 2007 or 8. And so I'm going to sit down in a room with this guy and try to talk to him and ask him questions and present that in a way that I can put in a story that's going to go on the radio that people will actually listen to and give a crap about. But I didn't want to sit down and say, so, piano, huh? That's interesting. It's hard to play, isn't it? Because that's boring. It doesn't matter. So I didn't know anything about this guy, but I wanted to. I wanted this experience, I wanted this interview session to be something that mattered to him, because it was going to matter to me. And so I took the time to read and do some research about him and find out about his story, because he's more than just a musician. He's a person who has lived a life and has traveled and has done a lot of valuable things and has a family and cares about people. I wanted to dive into the personal story. And so that's what I did, and we had an interview, and it was awesome. And then when I presented it and played it, people liked it. About 3 years later, I got the chance to go to this conference in Cleveland and work with a guy who, I remember his first name, I honestly don't remember his last name. His first name's David. He's from Nova Scotia. He's the guy that NPR brings in to coach their people on how to do interviews. And the whole point of this session we had together was to coach us on giving better interviews. And my boss at the time said, hey, you're doing a good job, but you could probably do better. Go to this conference and learn how to do it from the bigwigs. Okay, cool. So I go to Cleveland. I'm sitting in this room with station leaders from all over the country, some very, very big public radio stations like KCRW out of Los Angeles in California. Huge station. I would love to get my show on there. I've been trying for years. Haven't made it, but I will. In the room, we kind of got to submit our past work to David. And the whole part of this thing was to be critiqued by him and by everybody in the group, and to have your work criticized, talked about, analyzed, explored. I was the youngest person in the room by 20 years, easily. And as the youngest person in the room, in a room full of radio veterans and people who have been doing radio interviews for a very long time, I expected that they were going to rip my stuff up, because I'm not only a young guy, but I'm in a very small town in West Texas that nobody in the room has heard of. That's what I'm expecting. Now remember the story that I've been believing about myself up to this point. That matters. I volunteered to go first. Who's going to go first? I'm the youngest dude, beauty before age, or however that works. Well, I'll go first. So they play my piece, and then it's over, and I'm kind of not, white knuckling the table, but I'm expecting to get some. Well, that was a good job. Have you considered doing this, and this? You should try to work on this. You should improve this. I'm expecting all these things. That wasn't the feedback that I got. The feedback that I got was way different, and the story changed. The feedback that I got was this. Matt from KCRW said, "Holy cow, dude. If our classical music station in Los Angeles played interviews like that and stories like that, I would listen every day. And I would support their station. I never listen because it's all boring and stupid." That was amazing. We need more of that. He just told me a story that changed the way that I saw myself, changed the way that I saw my value, and changed the way that I saw my world. And that, honestly, I can trace back and reverse engineer how I've gotten to the place where I am now to that story. Because that was validation. That was, you're not this person that's just in here and we're all participating in this thing and good job, okay, yeah, way to go, let's move on to the next person. As this pertains to us as individuals, everyone in this room who wants to be in business, and everybody in this room who's learning about marketing, the way that we approach other people and the stories that we tell other people about who they are impacts them as individuals. And it changes the way that they see themselves, and it changes the way that they see us. In this moment, I will never forget Matt. He has value to me because of the way that he spoke to me, the story that he said to me. That was valuable. It changed things. And I'm conscious of that when I have interactions with people on a daily basis. The things that I do, the way that I present myself, the way that I tell my story, and the way that I engage with them matters. The way I engage with you all matters. I want to communicate the value of that very powerfully. And I want that to stick with you today. That what you do and the stories that you believe matter. And who you are as individuals matter. The big thing that I see on social media, to wrap it back over into that realm of things, since that's a subject that you guys are talking about in this class. On social media, we see a lot of people who are really focused on themselves. And we see a lot of people who are telling a story that is highly self-important and not really all that interested in other people. And I see that a lot in the space that I'm in with the Appetizer. So since I play music that a lot of people haven't heard of, that means I'm not governed by Sony Music or Atlantic Records or Virgin Records or any of the other major record labels. I don't give a crap about what they say, and I honestly don't know who's popular. I've never really watched The Voice. I don't know who those judges are. I mean, I know who Alicia Keys, and I think I recognize one other person on there, but I don't care. That's not interesting to me. It can be interesting to you guys, that's fine. I'm just telling you that the popular stuff, that doesn't matter to me. So because I do music that is in a different realm and I'm showcasing people's work that wants to get discovered, whatever that means, I get solicitations and I get emails from strangers every single day. Tons of them, actually. And most of those messages are all written the exact same way. If I don't get a "Dear Sir," or a "Hello music guy," I just get a "I'm Joe and I'm in this band and we're really awesome and you should totally check us out and here's our YouTube link and here's our SoundCloud link and we are from Nova Scotia." I said that already. So I'll use a different town. Dave is from Nova Scotia. I don't want to. I'm from. Pick a name. Give me place.
Chicago.
Where?
Austin.
Austin. I'm from Austin and we're awesome. And we're super cool, and you should totally check us out, and here's all of our links, and here's our bio, and it's 5,000 pages long, and it's all about them. And nowhere in this was there any sort of, "Hey, D. Grant, love your show. How can we get on your show? Here's a little bit about us, but we value your show, and as this band, we would like to be a part of what you're doing." Most marketing messages don't address the person that they're talking to, especially on social media and in email. Email list building and all that about that's a huge thing in my industry. Build your email list. Grow your email list so that you can connect one-on-one directly with your audience. Well, if you're not talking directly to your audience and talking about things that they actually care about and showing that you actually care about them and that them as individuals matter, it's all blah blah goldfish attention span crap. And it doesn't matter. Let's fast forward to present day. I have a coach in Australia. His name is Steve Palfreman. He is an amazing human being. And starting next week, he is going to be launching the world's largest global music summit, bringing together close to 50 of the biggest people in all of music to talk to musicians and artists and creative entrepreneurs about everything under the sun, from website building to public relations to press to publicity to audience growth to music production to vocal training to radio airplay to everything in between. I've got the opportunity to be a part of that. I'm really excited about it. Steve is my coach. Every Wednesday I talk to Steve at about 9 o'clock. And earlier this year, in January, he gave me a little bit of a challenge. He said this: all right, man, I know that you think that there are a couple people that are so far outside of your grid of influence that you would never ever get a chance to talk to them. But I want to challenge you to reach out to them and try to make contact and just see what happens. Believe that you can connect with somebody with a massive influence that you really respect and you really value, and just go for it. See what happens. All right, Steve, whatever you say, man. So, I'm sitting in Monk's Coffee Shop, downtown Abilene. It's about 6:45. I'm about to go play Texas Hold'em. Excited about it. I've got about 20 minutes to kill before I go play poker. I've got one more thing left to do for the week, and that is to contact somebody that I really value and finish my little Steve action item for the week so I can move on with my day. A person I've always wanted to talk to is Seth Godin. You guys know who Seth Godin is? No? Okay. Let this be an awesome introduction. Seth Godin is a 10-time best-selling author. He writes about marketing, but really he writes about storytelling. Here's the cool thing about Seth. He is a guy that you read his work and you believe you can do the impossible. And his books are really short. Really short. Like you could dive into his book in an hour and a half if you wanted to speed read it and go through it and be done. Not very common you get to do that with a marketing or business book that is interesting. Aside from that, Seth gives some really great speeches. He's had a couple of TED Talks that are really awesome. And he does a thing called the Alt MBA, which is a way to essentially get a master's degree in business by actually doing marketing on a hands-on sort of way, and it's done in a way that you can afford to go. I think the whole course is like $1,200 versus going to business school, and I don't know how much that costs. It's probably like 50 or 70 grand. Anyhow, Seth, read his books. I'll give you 3 you should check out right now. Tribes is all about building community, and it's about taking the idea of having a fan base and having an audience and inserting yourself into it so that you are a part of this group, you are a part of this movement. What to do when it's your turn is exactly that. What to do when it's your turn. It's about not waiting for your turn and your chance to happen, but taking the opportunity that's right in front of you. And there's another book that he has that's called Purple Cow. And Seth is a purple cow because in his own ways, he creates very powerful impacts on people. And he has built this massive influence that spans the world. So I've been reading Seth's books for a long time. And he has a little daily blog that's usually about two short paragraphs. And it gets sent to my inbox. And it's got to be on an automated thing because it pops up in my inbox at 4 o'clock in the morning. I think he does that to make sure that you see it first thing. Every day I read Seth's email. And every day I feel a little bit better about where I am in life, about where I am as a business, entrepreneur, marketing person. As somebody that works with musicians, aside from the radio show, I coach musicians on how to build their audience. As somebody that works in this space, trying to teach other people how to do growth, how to growth farm, how to build audience, how to cultivate connections, how to build relationships and build networks. there's a lot of things, especially with social media, that are changing all the time. New hashtags to learn, new platforms to be on, new things to make sure that you insert in your post. Make sure that you've got X number of photo posts per week. Make sure you've got X number of video posts per week, and you're doing all the stuff to keep up with. It feels like wandering around in a desert, honestly. Any of you guys wandered around in a desert? You have?
Yes.
Was it fun?
No.
Okay, good. Deserts aren't fun. It's hot, it's muggy, there's never enough water, even if you've got water on you. And you don't, for me, the times that I've wandered around in vast, empty places, I don't know where I'm going. I need somebody to help guide me. So to play on a biblical metaphor, a lot of my entrepreneurial journey, even in building my radio show, has felt like wandering around in a desert. Wanting to have some sort of direction to get to the promised land of success. We all believe that there is a promised land of success where we will finally make it. We'll finally reach our dreams. When I read Seth Godin's blog every day, I don't have suddenly the answer to make the magic happen, but I do feel like I can have a little bit of direction to go that way and take one step forward and get closer to that promised land. When I reached out to Seth, that's exactly the story that I told him. What I didn't want to do was be another one of those people that just gushed about, I've read all of your books and they're so awesome. And I read your blog every day and it just makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Because that doesn't do anything. And chances are he gets a ton of those emails and, that's fun. Next one. That's fine. I didn't want that. I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to get a response. That's what I was shooting for. I went to his website to try to figure out, how do I get Seth Godin's email address? Turns out it's on his website. His website says this: Seth does not do private coaching. He also does not do workshops. And he keeps a really full event calendar, so he's not available for your event. But he does read his email. So if you have something you'd like to say, here's his email address. Okay. So I sent Seth an email, and this is what I said. Hey, Seth. Appreciate what you've done with your books, particularly Idea Virus and Tribes. They've been game changers for me. Even more important, though, is what you do on your blog every day. And by reading your blog every day, I feel like I'm kind of wandering in this vast desert trying to figure out how to get from where I am to where I want to go. And your blog is kind of like you being a Moses in my perpetual desert, and I feel like I can take one more step towards the promised land. Thank you for doing that. It's inspirational. I know you don't do coaching, and I know you don't do events, but I didn't read anything on your website that said that you don't do podcasts. I've got a podcast that speaks to artists and musicians, and what you have done for me, I know you can also do for musicians. I actually talk to a lot of them that read your stuff. If you'd ever consider being on a podcast, I'd love to have you on mine. Thank you for everything. Signed, D. Grant. Now, I hit send, and I've done what Steve asked me to do. And I went to my deal and I sent him a message and said, okay, I'm done for the week, man. I just emailed Seth Godin. I'll never hear anything back. I'll talk to you tomorrow. In the span of time that took me to send that message and come back and see that I've got a new email in my inbox was 3 little minutes. I got a reply from Seth Godin. And I didn't at first think that it was an actual reply. I thought it would be one of those autoresponders that we get from people that we email and contact. Thanks for reaching out. Appreciate your contact. Seth's really busy right now and doesn't have time to read all of his personal messages, but thank you for reading his stuff. I was expecting that because that is usually what we get from people that have massive influence or brands that have massive influence. And everybody knows who they are. They're so popular and they're so big that they can't care about individuals that are reading their stuff and caring about them. This is what we see all over social media. This is what we see all over regular media. This is what we see all over the place. People who are so big and so famous and so important that they can't care about individuals. And that's changing. And that's where we can change. I'll pick that up in just a minute when I finish this part of the story. Seth Godin sent me a personal reply. D. Grant, wow. Thank you. Those are very kind words, and I really appreciate that. You know, I haven't done much with podcasts, but you've intrigued me. What are you doing next Tuesday? Can we talk then? Tell me what time works for you. I literally had this face. And I wanted to, in the middle of monks, I'm a fairly outgoing person, fairly. I wanted to do a touchdown dance in the middle of the freaking coffee shop. And start throwing stuff, and yeah! Holy cow! You won't believe what just happened to me, but I didn't want to do that because I didn't want Allison to lose business. I don't know if that would have happened. Somebody of incredible prominence and influence sent me a personal message and changed my story. There's an evolution of storytelling that's gone on here. I hope you guys see that. By taking notice in an individual, a world changed. And what that led to was a conversation that lasted about 17 minutes. Now I'm going to praise Seth even more because here's something else that most people do if they have this happen to them. Seth got a sinus infection over the weekend. And we were still set to talk on Tuesday. And what he could have easily done was send an email or had one of his assistants do it. And say, hey, Seth's got a cold. He's not able to talk to you on Tuesday. We're going to need to reschedule. We'll do that at a later time. We'll let you know. That's typically what happens. Because, again, such prominence and importance and having so many things to do, people usually just let the people that they're not super close with fall off to the wayside. He didn't do that. We got on our call. I could tell his voice was a little different. And he was I could hear something in the background he was messing with. It was one of those throat lozenge things. And in the interview, you can hear him opening one. You can hear him throwing it back. But he tells me, hey, sorry man, a little slow today. I had a sinus infection over the weekend that I'm still nursing. But I want to have this conversation. It's communicating incredible value. Now me, I had my questions written down. And I wanted to, yes, talk to him for 5 hours and take him out for coffee and beer and invite him over to my birthday party and, yeah, of course I wanted to do all those things. But here's a guy with a sinus infection who is giving me part of his day. And so I kept our conversation really short. But in 17 minutes, he's told stories to me that I've now got to share with people all over the world, and it's helped to change their lives. The thing that has shifted, and the thing that will shift for marketers who are going to win, is a pursuit not of attention, but a pursuit of value, and a pursuit of communicating value to individual people, and choosing to not make your goal to be a Twitter celebrity with 5 million followers, whatever the crap that means, and instead value individuals and give that value to individuals on a regular basis and show them that you care about who they are and you value who they are and what they do. And by doing that, you impact their world. You impact the way that they see the world, and you impact their connection with your brand. And for musicians in particular, do we have any musicians in the room? Anybody do anything with music at all? Couple, okay, good. Musicians. Any artists? Any graphic artists, visual artists? A little bit? Raise your hand up, man. Don't be on the fence. What about people in theater? The arts in any way, shape, or form. Any writers in here? Okay. Artists. The more value you communicate to other people, the more you connect what they see, what they hear, and what they sense with their heart. What we connect with our heart is what we stick with for a long period of time. People are trying desperately to create brand loyalty, but they're ignoring this thing right here. You ignore this, you don't get loyalty. All you'll ever be able to attract is attention. Our jobs as marketers is to do two things. Build community, tell great stories. Build community, tell great stories. Build community, tell great stories. Build community. We do that by valuing individuals and not trying to make ourselves into celebrities. Celebrities really want the same thing that you want, the same thing that I want, to be valued, to be cared about, for someone to find them worthy. Anybody in here want to feel worthy? Hopefully all of you. Anybody in here feel worthy? You guys feel worthy? Feel good? When you're with people who bring that out and who communicate that to you, what is your feeling about that person? That's an open-ended question. Whoever wants to answer, answer.
I think it's great. I mean, I've had friends for 20 years, 20, 25 years that I still keep very, very close. I can give them a call and stay over at their house if I want to.
Awesome. When you're with them, do they make you feel better about yourself?
Absolutely. I wouldn't be around them if they didn't. Why would I want to hang out with somebody I don't like?
Very good. So, as marketers, and let's just call it what it is, as community builders, our job is to create, what's your name?
Tony?
Tony is to create exactly the type of relationship culture that Tony's building. Being around people that we like and communicating that value, that like, to them so that they can communicate it back to us and it can be a reciprocal connection. What I get a lot of, going back to a mention I made a minute ago about emails from Jack's band in Austin, who's super awesome and wants me to know about it. I have nothing to care about here because these are strangers talking to me about something I don't know. All of us as human beings, it doesn't matter what technology does. Technology is always going to change. Technology is always going to get more innovative and do new things and provide new bells and whistles. And I saw this commercial yesterday for Google 3D something. It's a helmet. They wouldn't show us what the people are watching, but they're crying and they're screaming and they're jumping up and down. And I'm like, technology, we're the Jetsons, only with better colors. Jetsons, that overheads, man. We're some sort of advanced technology. I don't know. Jetsons was what came to mind. Deadpan, that was great. Technology will always change, but here's something that hasn't changed. We're still people. We're still humans. We still have the same desires that we've had since the beginning of time. To want to be loved, to want to be valued, to want to be worthy, to want to be special, to want to be accepted, to want to belong. These things haven't changed. These things will never change as long as there are people. And the more that we as community builders, as people who have a message, can communicate that to individuals, the greater impact we will have and the greater influence we will have. So what did I do that was all that special to get to sit down and talk to one person of influence, and since then talk to tons of people of influence? That changed my game. It's easy for me to contact somebody and say, hey man, I love what you're doing and I would like to talk about it. And I'd like to talk about it with my audience, and I'd like to talk about it with you to my audience. When can we talk? Super easy now. Was there anything special about me necessarily that got Seth Godin's attention?
It was a message.
What about it?
It's personal. It wasn't so broad, and you weren't all about you.
Exactly.
You showed interest in what he was doing on a personal level by addressing him by his first name first, and then.
Wow, that's good. That's very good. That's another big part of the whole first name thing. So I wrote a book this year that is called The DIY Musician's Radio Handbook. Now, there's 2 or 3 musicians in here. The book would be good for you. Really, what I was trying to do and what I achieved in doing this book is talk about exactly that. In order for us to get people's attention, radio is this big thing where people send in music and then the music gets accepted and some stuff doesn't. And the music that gets accepted gets put on a stream so that other people can hear it. Which is the exact same thing as every single business. People want to come in. They want to partake in what's going on so that partaking can go out to, that product can go out to this audience and that audience can engage with it. And it starts by valuing other people. The people that win in the space that I'm in are people that choose to do things that way. That say, I'm not going to send a blanket email message to 100 radio stations or contacts or people that I got on this list that are addressed to no one. But they're all about me because I'm so cool and I'm looking good and all this stuff. Because I'm a stranger to these people and they're strangers to me. And what do we give to strangers? Do we give anything to strangers?
The minimum.
We give a minimum? When I was a little kid, my mom told me this. If a stranger offers you candy, run away. Did your parents tell you that? When you're growing up? Stranger offers you candy. Stranger wants you to get in their car. Stranger wants you to do anything. Offers you anything to go the opposite direction. Was that communicated to you guys as kids? Yeah? Still is? Hopefully so. I think that metaphor plays over into the way we communicate with other people too. Strangers contact us. They're strangers. I have no reason to care about this until you tell me something that has to do with me. And every single person in this room is exactly the same. Until somebody engages with us as individuals, we don't have a reason to care. We don't have a reason for this to get engaged. The story that has been told doesn't include us yet. My story's changed. The story that I'm telling has changed. The story that I want to tell you guys has changed. The story that I want to tell you and impart to you is this. Value other people. Let other people, the people in your community, the people in this classroom, matter to you. In doing so, you create the opportunity to matter to them. And ultimately, isn't that what we want? I don't want to be Superman anymore. I actually want to be Professor X. Not because of his X-Men ability. Not even about that at all. The X-Men are a group of awesomely superpowered individuals. But who brought them together? And who empowered them to believe in themselves? And who showed them that they can use their gifts to better other people's lives? They didn't come to that decision on their own. They wanted to run and hide because they didn't believe that what they had was something that could be celebrated. They thought it was something that needed to be hidden. Professor X said, no, what you have needs to be shown. But there's a way to do that. You can impact the world and make it awesome. I'll show you how. That's a different story. It's a vulnerable story. But it's an empowering story. And I believe that inside all of us is that Professor X ability to empower other people, to let other people's value matter to us so that we can matter to them. And in essence, be able to tell a different kind of story and make a different kind of impression on the world. What questions do you have? First off, what's your name?
I'm Ken Curry. I'm a combat vet, U.S. Air Force. Just going to take a part of the part where you said that you were told the story when you were a kid and you believed it, and later on you were told another story that changed that story. Do you go about doing that for other people, and how do you go about doing that?
So let me...
Since you were told something and it changed from it was a bad message and it kind of hurt you a little bit, and then when you went to that conference, somebody told you something and changed for the better. Being a vet, I like to help people out a lot. So how do you go about helping those people if you do that?
Yeah, I do. So obviously there's a lot of span of time between those two stories, and also there's a lot of things that took place in that interim period. But as two milestones for compare and contrast, for me it's a matter of being intentional about that communication and being consistent with it. Rewriting stories isn't something that takes place overnight. Very rarely do we get the chance, and very rarely are we conscious of the fact that our story is changing in an instant, because we don't really know what to expect a lot of times. So for your work as a veteran and impacting the lives, I'm guessing, of other veterans who have been through some very traumatic instances. That kind of consistency and constant exchange of value, really, value is almost an overused word. I'm going to call it what it is. It's loving people, man. And by communicating love and communicating that you really care about them and who they are as individuals, and you're consistent in that, that story starts to rewrite itself. There's also, this works in some ways with the work I do with musicians. There's a guy I'm working with right now in Burleson, Texas, who's a country musician, and who spent 20 years as a police officer and has experienced some crazy things that I've never dreamt of before. Been in some situations that I would not have a grid for at all. And my imagining of him and his experience is that he would be a real tough, rough-edged dude. But he's really not. He's actually a relatively soft-spoken guy. But his message and his music is to show people that there's a better way to think about things. He's trying to bring light to the world, bring light to dark places. But he is also trying to bring light to the fact that with all the stuff that's gone on in our country, with police all over the country and some very terrible situations, that not every police officer is a bad guy. And so in his place, there's some very passionate things that he feels, that he's relatively sensitive to. And there's times in our conversations where I can tell that that sensitivity is kind of holding him back. And so what I've done is communicated love, but also encouraged him to believe in himself. And I speak the things to him that I know to be true and tell him that they are true. And by communicating that belief, because that's the other side of this thing, every story we tell is a belief that we have. And we're trying to communicate belief so that we can change belief and we can foster belief. So I would say that to wrap all that up, there's a consistency, there's communicating love, and there's empowering belief. And he or she will accept that belief the more it's told to them. Especially the better something makes you feel, the more you want to hold on to it. We naturally, like you were talking about with your friends, we naturally want to cling to people that make us feel good about ourselves. We don't really feel all that affectionate about people that make us feel like crap. So we cling to things that are good. Any other questions?
What's your story now? What are you doing to keep yourself motivated every day? What's the thing that pushes you to do what you're doing?
It's a great question. So I wake up every day at about 7 or 7:30, either from my alarm or I have a little black and white cat named Brody, who comes in and wakes me up and tells me it's time for him to eat. And he will not take no for an answer. And there is no snooze button for my cat. This is a tangent, but I wake up that early because of this reason. I go downstairs, I feed the cat, and then I go for a walk. And I walk for about half an hour to 45 minutes. And while I'm on this walk, I am processing through the things that I dealt with the day before. I'm putting into mind the things that I'm going to do for the day. But then I have this little ritual that I do every day, and this is what's made the difference for me. I firmly believe, encapsulate everything that I've said today into this one little story. I firmly believe that we are all farmers. And we start with our own garden and our hearts. And so every day I plant things that I want in my life, and I plant them in my heart. And I say this little mantra, and I will tell you my mantra. What is inside of me is love and joy and peace and wealth and prosperity and passion. And what I produce is love and joy and peace and wealth and prosperity and passion. And what people are drawn to me for is love and joy and peace and wealth and prosperity and passion. And what I am celebrated for is love and joy and peace and wealth and prosperity and passion. And I do that every single day. And every single day it becomes more and more true. And every single day I get new opportunities to engage directly with new people I didn't know before. And I get to have awesome conversations with people I didn't know before. And I get to communicate those things and receive those things and have impact that I never thought I would be able to have before. And that's what I do. You had a question?
Yes. Mr. Morris Mitchell. Would you say that the message that you're conveying could be interpreted as no matter how much life kicks you around, you need to be able to take the step away from the negative of it and take the positive and feed off of that and grow. So could it be?
That's exactly it. So vulnerability is a big deal, and that's the scariest place for all of us, because vulnerability opens up for the bullets to come in, or whatever to come in, and it to actually hit you, hit us, and hurt. I was moved by the story of Nelson Mandela. You guys familiar with Nelson Mandela? Okay, here's a guy who was wrongfully imprisoned for 20-something years, and he never hated his jailers. He was surrounded by nothing but negativity, racism, hatred, and violence. And he didn't let that shape him. Now, did it impact him? Yes. Did it impact the way that he thought? Yes. Did it impact the way that he felt? Yes. Was there pain that he felt? Yes. Was there animosity that he felt? Yes. Was there hatred that he felt? Yes. But did he allow those feelings and those thoughts and those experiences to shape who he was as a person and what he produced and how he engaged with the people who were imprisoning him? No. And so what I hear you say, and I hear you ask, is that story something that can be a part of our lives? And the answer to that is yes. But what it comes down to is a lot of personal responsibility. The only people that we have any control over at all are also the only people that we can be entirely responsible for, other than maybe our children. But us. I can't impact or take responsibility for or control in any way, shape, or form the way any of you guys see me. Some skinny little dude with a hot pink shirt and his hair pulled back in a ponytail. I can't control the way that you guys see me. All I can do is give you my love and hope that we have a connection and we can have a conversation. But my responsibility is to communicate everything that is good and create good opportunities in the time that I have. And in every situation with every single human being and every single individual that we have, planting that inside of us, because what is inside of us is what we produce, which is why I start the mantra every day. What is inside of me is this. These are the things I want to produce. I've got to put good things in here. So if life is throwing you a bunch of terrible stuff, the way that you don't let that terrible stuff impact the way that you see the world is you find people that value you. And you value yourself. And you tell yourself the story that you want to be true. Because that's the thing you're going to believe. And thank you for that question. Anybody else?
Time for one more quick one, if y'all want to, and some may have to go to their next class, but
An exam.
So, yeah, awesome. Thank you guys so much. This has been awesome.
Thanks for coming and talking to us. That was great.
If you go to my website, which is dgrantsmith.com, and you click on the growth farming tips, I've got an ebook in there that's about my conversation with Seth Godin that will really impact your lives.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Good to meet you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. What's your name? Caleb. Kaylin?
Yeah.
Oh, good to meet you, man.
I enjoyed your story, sir.
Hey, thank you very much. What's your name?
Talon.
Tylen.
Eden, yes, sir.
Tylen or Tyler?
Talon.
Tylen.
Like Tylenol.
Tylen.
Yes, sir.
That's a great name.
Thank you, man.
I've never heard that before. That's awesome.
Hey, it was nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, too. What's your name, man?
Christopher.
Christopher.
Nice to meet you.
I appreciate you being here,
Thank you. I
man.
appreciate everything you said.
Well, thank you. Awesome.
Great way to start the day.
Oh,
Wish I could listen to that like every morning because I just
well,
keep
here.
going.
Here's all of my contact information. I should have given this to you guys.
And you're from here?
Originally, I'm from Houston.
Oh.
Hey, man, what's your name?
Wait.
Wade?
From China.
Oh, from China.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You've come a long ways.
Yeah, come on.
What's your name?
Dejan.
Dejan? Oh, good to meet you, man.
All right. Well,
Awesome.
thank
You guys have a
Nice to
great
meet you.
weekend.
You too.
All right. So, I'm an individual that actually